What is going on? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today you're wondering why is the bonnet open and why is it on jack stands? It's because we're doing a full service. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to show you guys everything I do for a standard scheduled service. By scheduled I mean every 5,000 kilometers, because it is an old motor and it is an old car. It's also been having a little bit of a misfire problem, so I'll get into that in a moment as well. But you guys smashed the last video and nearly hit 2,000 views already in 3 weeks, and I have also gained 30 subscribers, so thank you all for that, and I hope we can keep going. As promised, I will go through all the servicing and all the maintenance work I do. I know a lot of you guys out there can relate to owning one of these cars, and to all the people out there that want to own one of these, I want to show you guys how easy it is to service yourself. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right guys, so here is the motor. The last time you saw it, the only thing that was changed was the coil packs. Like I said, it's been having a little bit of a misfiring problem, so I have tried to change the coil packs. I have gone out and bought myself a standard set of leads and some new NGK spark plugs. Find out if it does have anything to do with the ignition, and change the leads and plugs is the last thing I can do. It's been a couple of years since these have been changed, and I feel like that would be the most reasonable option for the moment. And so even with that being said, it's not too hard to do. All you got to do is take one lead off at a time, reroute them the same way that they are routed at the moment. I've got cable ties holding the 3 on each side together, just so that way they don't move around. That's pretty much it. That's how easy it is, and the spark plugs is pretty easy as well. You just got to be a little bit cautious with it because they are brittle. All right guys, one last thing I wanted to go over before we do get started is I have actually changed the wheels on the car because they were actually for a good price. They had brand new tires on them, and I think they suit the car very well. They're nothing crazy, but I'm sick of running the old walkies. They're overused. Every single Commodore has them, so something different, why not? Here they are. They're VX Calais wheels, and they don't look too bad. They're nothing crazy, however, I feel like they do suit the car pretty well, and considering they are VX Calais wheels, they're nice. I got these for $500 with brand new tires on them. They sit pretty good. Now, in terms of the oil, I have read tons of different online sources and forums for what oil should we actually be using for these cars, and honestly they're all different answers, which makes it really difficult. But for the 2.5 or 3 years I have owned this car, I have only ever used 20W50. I've had this car since about 260,000 kilometers, been changing the oil every 5,000 kilometers with this oil, and I have never ran into an issue, and I think it is definitely a good recommendation to do for your car as well if it's a little bit old, which a lot of them are nowadays. So right, so the car is jacked up. I'll quickly start it and get it running. All right, so we're going to get under the car here, and you can see that bolt right there is what we're going to be taking out. That drains the oil, and the oil filter is right up there. You probably can't see it, but we'll make our way over to that soon. Let's take off the oil cap on the top of the motor to allow air to enter. Another weird thing I couldn't find online was the size of the bolt. If I want to change that bolt in the washer, there's so many comments online of different sizes, but for this one I find it is a 3/4 inch socket. Without further ado, I've got a 8-litre oil pan drain here. Hopefully I don't lose the washer, and hopefully I don't make a mess, but every time I've done a service, that's exactly what happens. I also find that these wrenches are good as well because they are adjustable. You get a bit more leverage to be able to do any nuts or bolts pretty easily. So I'll get my hand on that washer as well. Oh, and I missed it. Like I said, I miss it every time. A lot of people like to change the washers, but this one looks in good condition still, so I'll be reusing it, and we'll find out if it leaks or not. There's no damage to it, so it should be fine. Alright, so now I'm just going to put that sump drain plug back on there. Give it a quick wipe over. That should be nice and snug. Alright, now we're over at the front left hand side of the car. You can see you got your filter right there. I've set up my pan right beneath it to drop right down into the pan. If not, it'll come off here. And I didn't seem to degrease it last time, as you can tell. But it should only be hand tight. Got it. Just gonna let it drain out. These cars need a Z154 oil filter, about $15 from VX Calais, super cheap. Some people say it matters, some people say it doesn't, but I'll just do it anyways. Just use a little bit of oil to lubricate the rubber ring there, so just dip your finger in your old oil. And quickly. Some people also say that you have to refill them before you put them in, but I don't think you do. Never had an issue with it, so Once that's done, you just like to screw it on, only hand tight, as I said before. See, there's a little bit of a thread on the outside. You just start feeding it through and tightening it up. And tighten it. And there, should be good. You'll start to notice it really grips up and becomes difficult to turn. You won't be able to undo it with your slippery hands, so yep, we're on. I'll just degrease the area again, give it a wipe down. There we go, nice and clean. And there you go, you've had your oil filter change and your oil drained out, so we've just got to top it up. Okay, so I've just set up myself a little station here just to fill it up, quickly cover underneath, and they do take about 5.5 to 6 litres, I think. So let's get to filling that up. Just look straight on like this. You guys won't be able to see. Try dribble out whatever's left in there, and sweet. So that's 5 litres. So obviously there's a reading on the side there. I'm going to go just to below 500 mil. There you go. So that's about somewhere near 350 to 400 mils left in that. That's as high as I need to be. And realistically, you just want to double check that you're not getting any leaks from underneath before you start it. Make sure everything's nice and tight, so I'll quickly do that. Jump under here. Have a look. Alright, so just double checking there's no other leaks coming as I filled it up, because now you'd be able to tell. So I can see that is dry and nothing is leaking through that or seeping through that, so we're clear there. And double check with the oil filter as well. That's the same scenario. It's a bit hard to tell, but that's it there. Looks good to me. There's a little bit of a drip there, but I think that's just the old oil coming off. Okay, so before completely starting the motor, I like to just let it crank for a little bit to make sure all the oil flows into the correct spots. And I believe, if I'm correct, it is the starter relay. So this one right here, just take that one out. So it turns out it was an engine continuous relay, so that's just located 4th one down from the front. You just let that crank for a good 20 seconds or so, just to let all the oil run through the motor. And now I'll start it for a couple of minutes. Just an extra safety step that I like to do. Some people are going to tell me it's not required, but I will continue doing it because it's worked for me. So let's start it up. It's a 17 mil, which I've got in my hand now. But I'm not a mechanic, so half the time of me working on a car is trying to find out what to use to actually undo stuff. Okay, finally got one out. Okay, so it looks okay to me. The thread is obviously a little bit rusted, but that's fine, and it's a little bit worn out. You can see on the edge there, it's not quite the same color as a new one would be. I doubt this would be the problem, but so if you have a look here, I've obviously got it in a particular order, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, and if you can't tell, it looks like cylinder 6 has had something go wrong, because this looks completely burnt out. Cylinder 6 has had a rough time, so I don't know exactly what this means, but it's burnt out horribly compared to the rest. For example, this one looks clean, looks like there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to change them over anyway, but if you guys are mechanics out there or know a bit about cars, you'll be able to tell me why this spark plug that come out of this cylinder is more worn out than the rest of them. Like I said, they're very brittle, very fragile, so you just want to be careful when you're carrying these around, and we should be good to go. As I was looking at the old spark plug compared to the new, I noticed this one doesn't even have a gap anymore. If it's going to concentrate, it's literally touching. In comparison to the other ones, that looks fine. It looks like that's enough gap there, so I'll go ahead and put these in and see how it runs to their spot. All it is literally a thread that sits right under there. You pop it into place, you hand tighten it, wrench it up a little bit with a 17 mil. So to be on the safe side, I simply just use one of these, and that usually does the job quite well. Like I said, make sure they're all tight. I'll just quickly go over them with my hand, make sure that I can't move them at all. A lot of people like to use power tools. However, I'm not very experienced with those kinds of tools, and I feel like I would snap the spark plugs. Like I said, they're fragile, so I feel safe using one of these and just getting it to as tight as I can. And another cool thing you can do with these, if you were to only change one lead or a coil pack, you could just simply mark each number down as to what coil goes to what cylinder. I'm not going to do that with these, but you can usually do that if you're having a problem with the one cylinder. However, because I'm changing all the leads I'm just going to run off a diagram I find. Open up my ignition leads and get started on that. These cost me $100. They're just OEX leads. I know some people like to use fancy stuff because it is an L67 and it needs to meet the certain power rating and X, Y, and Z. I'm just going to go ahead and use these because the old ones were exactly the same as what I had before. Another thing about these is they're already numbered, and you'll notice that there's three shorter ones, as well as they're obviously for this side, and the longer ones go across to the other side of the motor. This one's number 1. I'll just go and pop in number 1 into the first coil pack and run it into the first spark plug. So when putting it in, you just want to slide it over the spark plug, and it should make a bit of a clunk sound so you know you're in. You're all good. So I'll just go ahead and do the rest, and then we can work on cable tying them and making it a little bit more tidy. With this side, I'm going to start off by putting on the spark plug ends first, just because if I was to feed it through the back right here, I can't actually fit this through the back of the alternator, so that side's thinner. It's going to be easier to feed it through and create the route so it could go to the coil packs. I'll show you where I'm routing it through. So you can see that goes through to the back and into this little gap here, pulling it through, and that runs underneath the charger and then into its spot on the coil pack. So I'm going to do that with all 3. Now I'm just going to double check once again to find out in which order they go on the coil pack. So 6 at the end there, 2 right here, and 4 right here. So now we've got all of them in. They're in their spot. Make sure they're all plugged in to the spark plug correctly. Just go over them really quickly before I start the car to make sure it runs good. And then I can actually cable tie them up and make sure they're nice and tucked away. So let's start the car and find out what happens. Seems to be running fine. See if it sounds like it's misfiring. Sounds fine to me, so let's go and tidy these cables up and turn off the car, and we'll get it off the jack stands on the ground and see how it goes. Alright, very simple. So all you want to do is grab all 3 of the leads that are leading to this side. So that one, and it looks like this one. Those 3, they're leading down there. And then you've got 4, 2, and 6, which are leading this side. And simply I'm just going to move them over and tuck them out of the way. So I'll quickly just tie this one up. Okay, so they were cable tied right underneath the intake piping before. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now, is I'm just going to tuck it in all the way down there and tie it up. There we go. And then this side, they were cable tied down here, so I'll simply give it some more slack and make sure these are in a good spot. So 4 should run underneath. Another thing you have to do is rearrange all these to make sure they're not in each other's way. So 4 is underneath now. That's going to help. That's good, that's good. This one here should be underneath, number 3. I'm not really sure how it should be, but I'm just basically going off of how it looks. And yeah, that looks about right. So there's also these little clips on this side as well. Run that down and clip that in just like that. And then I've just got these. As you can see, I have cable tied it. The leads on this side seem a little bit long, but it shouldn't be a problem as long as they're tucked out of the way, which I'll work on doing. This side didn't have a problem with, simple, and they're all the right length, so it helps. Also, I'm thinking we're going to have to zip tie it again just further up to maybe this cable here, just because that's what it looks like at the moment. It's not really that great, and now it's nice and neat. Took 2 seconds, so car's not misfiring anymore, looks neater, and full service has been done. Alright guys, I'm just about to drop the car, but just quickly want to get your input. What do you think about these wheels? Do you think they look nice, or would you throw them away? I think they look good. They don't stand out like some other HSV or crazy wheels, but they do look nice on the car and I don't mind it too much. So let's drop it on the ground and I'll see what you guys think. I have also lowered the fronts. I put different shocks in, not the supposed lowered Commodore shocks, which are now actually eBay standard ones, and I think it sits a lot nicer. I think it could be a little bit lower potentially, but I don't mind it. The body lines are now flat, nice and straight, and yeah, the car looks good. So here's what it looks like on the back. When they're nice and tucked, I think it looks pretty sick. It tucks the tyre but doesn't tuck the rim. On the back of these bottles, they have a little next service due date on there, so I'm going to write 315,000 kilometers. That's 6,000 kilometers from now. 315k. I know what that means. 315,000 kilometers, or the 2nd of 26. That gives me 3.5 months before February. So whichever one of them comes first, I'll service the car again. Okay, so I do not like having stuff on my windscreen, so I'll just put it right here on the fan shroud like I said. 315,000, or the 2nd of 2026. There you go. Every time I open the engine bay, I'll see that, and the easiest thing to do is set a reminder every 2 or 3 weeks. Do a quick check over of all the fluids on the car, because something simple like that could end up saving your motor. You know, one time you might have an oil leak you never know about, or simply your power steering fluid's a bit low, or whatever it might be. Having that little reminder just to double check everything, it really helps. So on my phone, I've got it every fortnightly just to quickly go over everything and double check everything's good, from tire pressure to the fluids of the motor and the whole lot. Just double check everything, because you can never be too sure. Just going to double check obviously the oil level once the car is completely warm, to make sure it is inside of the operating range. It's now completely lowered. It just needs a good set of wheels. It already has a half decent set I can use for the moment. But if you guys have any recommendations, even interior or motor work, anything whatsoever, leave a comment down below. I don't know what else I'm going to do with this car. There's not much left to do. It's pretty much the best you can get it as being stock. Anyway guys, I'm going to wrap up the video there. I hope you did enjoy. I hope that there was a couple of things you learnt there. Leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below what you want to see. Give me some suggestions what you want to see with this car. I hope that you found it interesting. It was a bit more of a chill video today. Alright guys, I'll catch you all in the next one.